This call is now being recorded.
Yes, learners, good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, shall we start now? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, you have given certain points to be discussed today. Uh, there is someone who has, yes, you have asked me some topics on which you want your doubts to be clear. So, those topics are repo rate and reverse repo rate, then foreign direct investment policy, FDI policy, then labor legislation, balance of payment and exchange policy, globalization and WTO, World Trade Organizations. So we will try to cover all these points. The first one is repo rate and reverse repo rate. So let me tell you that this is repo rate and reverse repo rate are interest rates. These two are interest rates, and these two rates are used as a part of the monetary policy, and monetary policy is the policy which is applied by the central bank of the country, as we have been discussing since yesterday as well as the day before yesterday. So, repo rate and reverse repo rate. These are two interest rates, and these are two important components of the monetary policy. And monetary policy, as we have seen yesterday, we have discussed about monetary policy, fiscal policy, credit policy. So monetary policy have such components called repo rate and reverse repo rate. So what is the meaning of repo rate? Yes, all of you know that one of the most important functions of the central bank of a country, and in our country, one of the most important functions of the Reserve Bank of India, for that matter, for any central bank in any country, one of the most important function is credit control, about which I was telling you yesterday. And credit control, there are two techniques. One is quantitative technique, the other one is qualitative techniques. With the help of the quantitative techniques, the Reserve Bank of India controls the quantum of credit, the volume of credit. Whereas the qualitative techniques are those techniques with the help of which the Reserve Bank of India controls the direction of credit, the flow of credit. It controls the flow of credit to the specific sectors of the economy. So quantitative techniques are those techniques which are helpful to the Reserve Bank of India, with the help of which the Reserve Bank of India controls the dimension of credit, quantum of credit. Whereas with the help of qualitative techniques, the Reserve Bank of India controls the direction of credit or the flow of credit to specific sectors or the desired sectors of the economy in conformity with the national policy of the government. So, repo rate, one such policy is one such quantitative technique. Uh, Let me tell you the names of a few quantitative techniques. The quantitative techniques of credit control are VCR, as I was telling you yesterday, variable cash reserve ratio. Then open market operations. Then variable cash reserve ratio, open market operations. Then discount rate policy, statutory liquidity ratio, SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. So these are the quantitative techniques of credit control employed by the Reserve Bank of India to control the volume of credit. So after all, why such credit control is essential? This question should be answered. What is the necessity of controlling credit or controlling the volume of money supply in the economy? The reason is there are two reasons, basically two reasons of credit control. Number one is to check inflation or to control inflation, and second objective is to stimulate the growth of the economy, to promote the economic growth of the country. So these repo rates and reverse repo rates are also the rates with the help of which the Reserve Bank of India implements its monetary policy by exercising credit control and control over the money supply in the economy. Did you get my point?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Then let us know what is repo rate. Repo rate is the rate of interest at which the central bank means the Reserve Bank of India, lends short-term money or lends money to the commercial banks, licensed commercial banks, for a short period. You know that Reserve Bank of India or the central bank of the country, it acts as the bankers bank. It also acts as the bankers bank. Who is the bank of the banks? Reserve Bank of India. It means that what do we do with our bank? Yes. What do we do with our bank? तुम्हें बैंक रे कौन आवश्यकता था? बैंक रे कौन करो तुम्हें एज ए कस्टमर?
So we actually use the banks for taking the loans, and also we keep our money safely, or if we invest in FDs or mutual funds, then we kind of grow our money with the bank.
Yes. Basically speaking, we keep our surplus money in the bank in the form of deposits, and at the time of our need, we can also borrow money from the bank,
Woodrow.
isn't it? These are the two basic functions of a bank. Two primary functions or key functions of a bank are borrowing money from the public and lending money to the public. Bank borrows money from the public in the form of deposits. When we are depositing money, our surplus money in the bank account, thereby the bank is borrowing money from us, on which the bank pays interest to us. We are entitled to receive interest, except in the current account, of course. When you are keeping your money in a current account, you will not be paid any interest. Do you know this or not?
Yes, sir.
What are the three? What are the different types of account you can open
So
in a bank?
savings account, current account, and salary account.
Yes, savings bank account, fixed deposit account,
Fixed deposit account.
recurring deposit account, and current account. So when you are keeping your money in a current account, the bank does not give you any interest. Instead, the bank will charge a nominal amount for administration of the current account, which is known as incidental charge. Which is known as incidental charge. But you are entitled to receive interest on savings bank account, recurring deposit account, fixed deposit account. So there are two types of deposits we make in the bank. One is demand deposit and the other one is time deposit. Demand deposit means those deposits which are withdrawable as and when it is demanded by the customer, whereas time deposits are those deposits which are withdrawable only after the expiry of an stipulated or agreed time period. So that means what I mean to say is bank acts as a lender of money, and also bank acts as a borrower of money from the point of view of the customers. Bank borrows money from the customer and bank also lends money to the customers. So if you are having an account in the State Bank of India or in UCO Bank or in Union Bank, your bank is UCO Bank, your bank is State Bank of India. You know what is done by the bank. Similarly, bank also needs a bank. Bank, a commercial bank in the country, like your State Bank of India, UCO Bank, they also sometimes need fund for a short term period. And when they are in need of fund for short term period, they will approach to their bank. And their bank is the Reserve Bank of India. So the Reserve Bank of India is also known as the lender of the last resort. Commercial banks, when they will be in need of fund, they will approach to their bank. And their bank is the Reserve Bank of India. Similarly, when the commercial banks have surplus reserve, they can park their money in their bank. When we are having money, when we want to park our money, deposit our money, we go to our bank. We can do it in our bank account. Similarly, when the banks will be having some surplus amount of money or for other banking transaction, they can approach to their bank for parking money. So Reserve Bank of India gives them interest on the amount which has been deposited by the banks with the Reserve Bank of India. Similarly, when the Reserve Bank of India lends money to the banks, it will collect interest. It will levy interest on the amount lent to the commercial banks by the Reserve Bank of India. So in this way, the Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank of our country, acts as the banker's bank. It acts as the banker's bank. So what is repo rate? Repo rate means the rate at which the central bank in the country, in our country, the Reserve Bank of India, lends short-term money, short-term fund to the licensed commercial banks. Those commercial banks which have been established and which are under the control of the Reserve Bank of India, those commercial banks which have obtained license from the Central Bank of India for carrying out their banking activities, such banks can lend money from the Reserve Bank of India, can borrow money from the Reserve Bank of India. And the Reserve Bank of India also lends money to such licensed banks. So, the rate which is charged, the rate which is levied by the central bank, the rate which is charged by the central bank on the amount of fund lent to the commercial banks is known as repo rate. So why this, there are certain terms I am using it, you remember. The rate of interest at which the Reserve Bank of India lends fund or money to the commercial banks. Which commercial banks? The licensed commercial banks in the country is known as the repo rate. And
So can you please repeat the line again? Rate of interest at which the RBI
lends money
lends money to
the
the licensed.
lends money to the licensed commercial banks. So, what is the purpose? Why the Reserve Bank of India lends money to the commercial banks? There are basically three reasons. There are
So to increase the liquidity.
To control credit availability, to control credit availability, to check inflation, and to stimulate economic growth. Here you can ask me a question: how economic growth can be stimulated when the Reserve Bank of India will lend money to the commercial banks? The answer is, there will be more amount of fund in the hands of or at the disposal of the commercial banks after borrowing from the Reserve Bank of India. Thereby, the commercial banks can extend more volume of credit, more amount of credit to the customers. When there will be no money with the commercial banks, the commercial bank will not be able to lend money to the customers. As a matter of fact, the central bank of the country, the Reserve Bank of India, it does not grant credit directly to the customers who are in direct contact with the customers, the commercial banks. So when the commercial banks will borrow money from the Reserve Bank of India, and then that money will be lent to the customers, to the public by the commercial banks. So when that money will be used by the customers, that will be invested by the customers for starting a business, starting a new business, or for expansion and growth of the existing business. Thereby, more number of people will get employed. The business activities will increase. The people will get employment. They will be getting salary. They will be purchasing more. There will be more demand for goods and services. And in this way, the economy will flourish. The economy will grow. So that is how the repo rate, it by manipulating the repo rate or by increasing the or decreasing the repo rate, the credit availability in the market can be controlled. Suppose, yes, how it works, I will tell you. How the repo rate works. And it is the rate at which the Reserve Bank of India lends money to the commercial banks. And commercial banks lends money to whom? Commercial banks
To the customers,
to the public. To the public.
to the public. Yeah.
Yes, to the public or to the customers. So that is how, suppose the Reserve Bank of India will increase the rate of interest or increase the repo rate. Repo rate means the rate at which the Reserve Bank of India lends money to the commercial banks. If the rate of interest was suppose 4%, but now the repo rate will be 5% or 6%. The rate of interest will be higher, then the commercial banks will be reluctant. It will act as a disincentive for the commercial banks to borrow more money from the Central Bank of India, Central Bank of the country or the Reserve Bank. So less amount of fund will be available at the disposal of the commercial banks. Similarly, when they will have to pay higher rate of interest to the Reserve Bank of India on the amount of money borrowed by them, they will also increase the rate of interest at which they will lend money to the public or to the customers. Thereby, the credit will become costlier. The credit will become dearer, and the public will be reluctant to borrow money from the commercial banks because they will have to pay higher rate of interest. And when credit will become dearer or costlier, more expensive, then the commercial banks will be reluctant to, sorry, they will not only the public or the customers will not borrow money from the banks, and they will be disinterested to invest more money in business. That is how the economic growth of the country will be affected. So, did you understand how repo rate acts or how repo rate works for stimulating the growth of the economy? So, when there is excess money supply in the economy, when there will be excess money supply in the economy, when the credit will become cheaper, when the credit will become less costly. So, when the repo rate will be reduced, commercial banks will borrow more from the Reserve Bank of India. Similarly, they will also reduce the rate of interest, and thereby the public will also borrow more from the commercial banks. And the volume of money supply in the economy will increase. When the volume of money supply in the economy will increase, that will lead to rise in prices. That will lead to rise in prices. Isn't it? So that is how inflation can be controlled. Credit can be controlled. Money supply in the economy can be controlled by manipulating the repo rate. And it acts as an instrument of or means of credit control. And it is adopted by the Reserve Bank of India as a part of its monetary policy or credit policy, whatever you may call it. Then, reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate is the rate at which banks can park their money with the Reserve Bank of India. This is the rate of interest at which commercial banks in the country will deposit with the Reserve Bank of India. Deposit their surplus money with the Reserve Bank of India. And the interest which is paid by the Reserve Bank of India on those deposits to the commercial banks is known as reverse repo. That means when we are depositing money, we are getting interest. When we are borrowing money, we are paying interest. Similarly, when the commercial banks will park their money with the Reserve Bank of India, they will be getting interest. And that rate of interest is known as reverse repo rate. In other words, when the Reserve Bank of India borrows money from the customers, from the banks, the rate which is paid on that borrowing, the rate of interest at which the Reserve Bank of India borrows money from the commercial banks is known as the reverse repo rate. Reverse repo. So, and if the reverse rate, repo rate will be increased by the Reserve Bank of India, the commercial banks will also increase the rate of interest on the borrowings. Borrowings means the deposits received by the commercial banks. When the commercial bank will borrow from the public in the form of deposits, and the commercial banks will keep their deposits with the Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India will pay interest to the commercial banks at a specified rate on the deposits made by them with the Reserve Bank of India. So that rate of interest is known as reverse repo rate. So higher the reverse repo rate, more will be the amount of money deposited with the Reserve Bank of India by the commercial banks. And higher the reverse repo rate, higher will be the rate at rate of interest which the commercial banks will give to their customers on the deposits made by them. So if there will be, if the reverse repo rate will be more, then public or the customers will be interested to deposit more fund, more money with the commercial banks. Why? With the hope of getting higher rate of interest. Higher rate of interest. So that is how the reverse repo rate is the rate of interest at which the Reserve Bank of India borrows money from the commercial banks. And when the reverse repo rate is announced, the commercial banks will also announce the rate of interest on the deposits. And more, when the rate of interest on your deposit will be increasing or will be high, then more and more amount of deposits will come to the banks from the public. That means lot of money will be withdrawn or will be squeezed or withdrawn from the circulation or from the economy. So that is how when there is excess supply, money supply in the economy, what the Reserve Bank of India will do? The Reserve Bank of India will increase the reverse repo rate. So rate of interest will increase on deposits. When more interest income will be available on deposits, people will start depositing their money in the banks. So when all the people will start depositing their money with the Reserve Bank of India or with their commercial banks or with their respective bankers, that much of money will be withdrawn from the circulation. So money supply will be less, it will be reduced. And when there will be less money floating in the market, the inflation will also be less. Isn't it? In this way, the repo rate and reverse repo rate not only helps in availability of credit, but also it helps in controlling the money supply in the economy. It helps in stimulating the economic growth. So that is how repo rate and reverse repo rate works. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
It is also there in your study material. If you want to know further, you go through it, and you, if you are having any further doubt, then those doubts will be clear. Then we will be coming to the FDI policy. First of all, you should know what is foreign investment and what is domestic investment. Domestic investment means the money which is being invested in trade, commerce, and industry from sources within the country. But in order to ensure rapid economic growth and also for the economic development of a country depends on substantial amount of investment, capital, and also technology. When growth of economy will be possible or economic development will be possible only when there will be adequate amount of capital and sufficient technological inputs. So this capital resource or the resource in the form of technology comes from two sources, from the domestic source and from the external source or from the foreign source. So, and in order to ensure the economic development of the country, the amount of capital which is available from internal sources or the technological inputs which are available within the country may not be sufficient. So that's why the that is the reason due to which every country will have to depend on foreign investment. And this has assumed more significance because of the LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization means what? Withdrawal of unnecessary restrictions in the form of license, permit for carrying on business activities in the country. The basic task of running a business should be made as simple as possible. There should not be over restrictions. There should not be too much of restrictions or any other kind of restrictions or prevents activities which will prevent the business activities to grow properly, and ultimately it will also adversely affect the economic growth of a country. So this investment must come from not only from internal source but also from the external source. So there are two major types of investment. It is also there in your study material. One is foreign direct investment and the other one is portfolio investment. These are the two types of international investment: foreign direct investment and portfolio investment. And foreign direct investment, when it takes place, when an investor living in one country, that means the home country, will acquire an asset in another country. That other country will be known as the host country with the interest to manage it. Suppose a business or an asset will be acquired, but that asset may be situated in the host country. By whom? By an investor. So a foreign direct investment will come into place when an investor who is based in the home country or in one country will acquire an asset in another country, that is the host country, with the interest to manage it. So the company investing in that host country will also transfer not only assets, but the assets may be transferred in the form of technology, management, expertise, marketing, etc. So this is called foreign direct investment. And when a foreign company will try to will invest in the host country, it will naturally try to seek the power of control over decision making. That means it should have a say in the management of the company. It should have a say. It should have control in the the company which is investing must have some control over the decision making process. So, foreign direct investment comes in the form of technology transfer. It may comes in the form of managerial capability. It may come in the form of marketing of the products. It will facilitate it. That means one company will manufacture the product, but a foreign direct investment will come. Another country will deploy FDI in the form of marketing. Products will be manufactured, but that products will be marketed. The marketing of the products will be the responsibility of that FDI company. So foreign direct investment does not necessarily come in the form of capital. It may come in the form of technology. It may come in the form of management. Even it may come in the form of marketing. So this is known as foreign direct investment, and there are mainly four characteristic features of foreign direct investment, and those features of foreign direct investment are: the growth of investment has been substantial. That means once you invest a money and then suppose you are no longer investing in subsequent years, that cannot be called. That means the FDI amount should continuously grow, and it should be substantial, not a small amount. It should be a substantial amount. Similarly, the FDI flow is more among the developed countries. FDI flow is more because foreign direct investment or investors, they are also interested in the safety, liquidity, and profitability of their fund. So they prefer developed countries to developing countries. They are more interested to deploy their fund in developed countries, and they are less interested. They are comparatively less interest, so less preference for investing money in the developing countries. But developing countries, because of the inadequacy of their resources in terms of raw materials, in terms of good management, in terms of management expertise, in terms of capital, in terms of technology, there are some deficiency in developing countries, due to which they are more interested, or they are the greater recipients of the foreign direct investment, and developing countries, that is why, have increasingly become the recipients of foreign direct investment. But this flow of FDI in developing countries is not evenly spread over the different developing countries of the world. The foreign direct investment are concentrated only in a few countries, not in all the countries, only in a very few number of countries. So sometimes foreign direct investment has become a matter of controversy. FDI, that means government of India is interested for foreign direct investment in infrastructural sector and in other certain specified sectors of the economy. But those people who are interested to invest in India, they are interested for investing their money in more profitable ventures. In more profitable ventures. After all, why they should invest money in our country. They also want profitability. They also want safety of their fund, profitability of their fund, liquidity of their fund, isn't it? So even though the government of India has made some rules and regulations with regard to the different sectors in which FDI is acceptable, but those people who are investing foreign direct investment, bringing foreign direct investment, where in which sector they will be interested? Those sectors which will be more profitable for them, not as per the desire of the government or not as per the desire of our country. They will be interested for their profitability also, safety and liquidity of their fund. So this becomes one of the most important problem with regard to FDI. Then uh, portfolio investment is another. There are two types of international investment, as I was telling you. One is FDI and the other one is portfolio investment. Actually, portfolio capital, it flows or it normally moves to investment in financial stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments. So, if the foreign investors are investing their money in financial stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments, then that will be known as portfolio investment. So, we are here, as we have told me, we should discuss something about the FDI policy. Is it there in your study material? Yes,
Sir, FDI policy is in the study material.
it is there.
Yes, sir.
So,
Basically, like why, and it is more in that sense that what is like India's FDI policy and how is um, will India be benefited by the FDI policy and the trends of the foreign direct investments.
hmm,
It is a chapter set, chapter number 20. It is.
hmm. The FDI policy which is there in your study material is not updated. It is not updated, but there are, as I was telling you, but you have to, if at all any question on FDI policy comes, you can write on the, you can make an overview of the FDI policy ever since it is allowed in India, isn't it? What are the rationale behind foreign direct investment? Why foreign direct investment is essential? Then, what are the policy during the initial stages? These are all the sequel of your economic reforms or after the advent of liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Then only FDI policy came into, it was formulated and it was implemented. So there are some sectors where 10% foreign direct investment is permissible. There are some sectors where only a limited percentage of FDI is allowed. And of course, there are some sectors which are very important. Uh, no foreign direct investment is permissible. But one of the most important advantage of FDI is it provides interest-free capital. It provides interest-free capital, and also it facilitates the transfer of technology, managerial expertise, management expertise to the host country, and thereby the host country will also be in a will be able to come at par with the other countries in the world in matters of economic growth and development. So there are that means here you have to find out with regard to FDI policy the points which you have to write if at all it comes in the examination. First of all, you have to define what is foreign direct investment and why it is essential for a developing country like India. Mainly because of inadequate resources of the developing country like India, inadequacy of resources in terms of manpower, in terms of management expertise, in terms of financial scarcity is always there, and in terms of technology also we are lagging behind. So that is why foreign direct investment is considered to be desirable for not only for India but for all the developing countries in the world. Then you have to give an overview of the FDI policy ever since its inception, particularly after the onset of the new economic policy in India or after the advent of LPG. So you have to give an overview of the FDI policy of the government of India since from early 90s till the recent period. Then you have also to mention in your answer what are the procedure for flow of foreign direct investment to India. What are the established or prescribed procedure through which FDI will flow to India? That means foreign direct investment, how they come uh, through automatic route or through approved route, means those route which are having approval of the government, and what is the procedure for getting or for obtaining approval of the government, then which are the sectors, which are the sectors of the Indian economy which where FDI is prohibited. Suppose a country will come, it will, or suppose some foreign investor will come and it will be investing money in gambling, betting, lottery business, business of cheat fund in our country, real estate and housing business. It is not permissible, isn't it? So, what are the different restrictions which have been imposed on FDI as per the government norms that you have to mention? Here, some points are there in your study material, but they are not updated. But some inputs definitely you will be getting uh, with regard to the policy. So I think these are the different issues that come within the domain of the FDI policy in India. Yes, And what was the other question? Labor legislation. Who has asked me with regard to labor legislation? Yes? No one. Or the one who has asked me, he is not present today.
Yes, sir. I think Komal Tanwar asked.
But she is absent today. Labor legislation, so many laws are there: Industrial Disputes Act, Payment of Wages Act, Payment of Bonus Act, then other payment of compensation, then all these Trade Unions Act, all these will come under the domain of labor legislation, and they are very elaborately explained in your study material under the heading legal environment of the business. So you go through them and you will get to know about them. Then is there any other question?
Sir, about that, I asked about the overview of balance of payment and exim policy.
Exit policy or exim policy?
Exim, sir. EXIM.
Okay. Is it there in your study material?
Yes, sir.
In this business environment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see. Yes, be on. I am checking it. Actually, I would have been able to give more justice to my work of interacting with you all people if I would have been given some topic from accounting, like your accounting for managers. Then
Sir, then please take class of our accounting subject.
actually, that is my area of interest. My specialization is in higher accountancy, and this business environment I am teaching after so many years. So I
Sir,
can
BOP
participate
is the
because
accounting of, hello,
huh,
hello. Sir, BOP is the accounting of all the economic transactions between the nationals of one country and the nationals of other countries, residents of one country and the residents of other countries, sir. So it consists of current account, capital account, and reserve account, sir.
no, balance of trade I can explain.
Yes, balance of payment consists of balance of trade
Uh,
plus invisibles plus reserve account of India, sir.
no,
There
that
are three
is
accounts,
good.
sir.
But she had some specific questions.
Sir,
Balance of trade, balance of payment, that is known to everybody.
sir.
But her question is, specific question is on Exim policy.
Exim policy is the export-import policy, sir. Instead of
But
exim policy, the latest policy is foreign trade policy of 2015 to 20, sir.
hmm,
The latest one is which is valid up to 31st of March 21, sir. So it consists of all the schemes given by our country as regards to import as well as export, sir.
good.
So and there are
So,
so many things are there, sir. What kind of duty drawbacks are there? What kind of,
can you tell me
sir,
the specific pages on which these topics are there? Exim
sir,
policy.
Actually, I am driving. I am just coming back from office.
Okay, okay, no
I'm
issue.
just listening, sir. Actually,
Good, good, good.
yeah, actually,
No issue, no issue.
most
Sir,
of the
sir, never mind that we will read. If like in the remaining time, you can just
yes,
if everybody agrees, then can we like have an overview of the accounting accounting subject since you are like the specialist from that field.
No, no, I
yes, sir.
don't have any issue. But the thing is, I
That
have
will
been
be better.
following
Actually,
this particular topic.
Because sir, this particular subject is like more of theory, but accounting we
yes,
need to really have a good knowledge. I mean, if somebody would take a class, that would like be of much benefit.
definitely, sir. Even I also recommend the things. Yes,
Actually, it involves many practical problems also.
sir.
Uh, that means in your accounting for managers, the different has it not been taught by some other resource person?
Sir, the classes of that subject is starting from tomorrow.
Okay, okay. Then I think it needs to be, you have
And
patience. You will be
and
getting
test
very
scores,
good
sir.
resource
I
person.
think from tomorrow onwards the classes will be from 8 a.m., sir.
Okay,
Yeah, sir, that timing
So
actually
again,
is
that
very yeah.
it's
It's
gonna be a
difficult
trouble.
to take the class.
okay, okay. Okay, you first attend the classes. How many classes have been assigned?
Sir.
So 6 classes.
Okay. So you attend the six classes and you can have my contact number
Sir, can we
unofficially.
request your
I
mobile
am
number,
telling
sir?
this thing, and if you find any difficulty, you can later me contact in my number, and it is no issue. So actually, I am not authorized to take your class because if some resource person has already been assigned to take your accounting for managers class, then I
Yes, sir.
should not take it.
Right.
After the six classes which have been given to him, if you are still, if you will be having any doubt, you can contact me and I will be trying to clear your doubts.
Okay, sir. Sir, can we have the contact number, please?
Yes, all of you note it down. 94374
Yes, sir. 94374.
20984.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So actually, I am a very busy person because I have been assigned, besides teaching, I have been given several other assignments in GM University, Sambalpur, Odisha. So that's why, preferably, I will be available after 7 a.m. in the evening. So you can contact me after 7 a.m. if it is necessary. And among all the students, do you have some commerce background in your plus two or plus three stage?
Sir, I don't have.
Okay. So even if you, that means you need to understand some basics of accounting. Then only the accounting for managers will be easier for you to understand. So that will, because accounting is purely a technical subject, and also it involves practical components like your financial statement analysis, then preparation of common size statement, fund flow statement, statement of changes in working capital, accounting ratios. So all those, then standard costing, budgetary control, all these topics are there. So that will be not that difficult. With if you will be giving some time to basics of accounting, then you will be able to get very good control over the subject. And most important, it is a mark fetching subject. You will be able to secure very good marks in accounting. These are all theory papers, so it will be helpful to you for getting a good division, good class. So, okay, students, I have to wind up now because I have to go to university for, I am receiving a call from the university. So, okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello.